But I forgot my pen. Typical. When it comes to some bands, I've been living under a rock. When it comes to Radiohead, I've probably been living under a mountain, because I've heard hardly anything by them. I am now rectifying that mistake. This is going to be my third reaction to them. I'll be checking out Pyramid Song, requested by C. Gallagher. Before I jump in, subscribe and join the Nuclear family. It's an awesome community to be part of. Give this video a like, follow me on socials, click the Linktree link in the description to see them, join my Patreon for more, also linked in the description. Leave a comment down below if you want to. Let's start a conversation. Alright, that's enough rambling. Let's get into this. Radiohead, Pyramid Song. I'll dive into the lyrics and meaning afterward, but let's see how this is. Let's check it out. I feel like I never know what to expect with Radiohead. That's probably the correct feeling to have.
Jumped in the river, what did I see?
Very somber beginning, which I like, for the record. Also, just for a little bit more background, I just want to point out that I do like Thom Yorke, I believe is his name. I really like his vocals. My opinion on Radiohead as a band is still developing, but you can check out my previous two reactions if you've missed them. Just search for them on my channel. I really do like his vocals, though. I have heard one other song, I think by his solo project. It's just called Thom Yorke. It's called Black Swan, and I actually really like that song. Like, I heard that years and years and years ago, way before I ever sat down and reacted to a Radiohead song. So already, that's a plus for me, because the vocals are usually, they tend to be the most important thing in music for me, because I'm so vocal-oriented. Now, since doing reactions, I've learned to respect and really appreciate and have an ear for other elements, in particular the instrumentation. But yeah, the fact that I like his voice is already a good sign. Let's dive back in.
Black-eyed angel swam with me. A moon full of stars and astral and all the figures I used to see.
Love the piano on this, actually.
All my lovers were there with me.
It's emotionally intense.
All my past and future. Oh, we all went to heaven in a little rowboat.
Just a thought, I can picture this song being like played during the end credits of like a really sad, dark drama, like that kind of film. Like, that's the sort of emotion that it's capturing for me, the sort of feeling, just that kind of vibe. And I like that. Like, I really like things that sound somber and melancholy. That's a huge emotion for me when it comes to music. Like, I just think that some of the best music is created around that kind of feeling and that kind of energy. I already feel like I like this song more than the last two. Like, I reacted to Paranoid Android, and I reacted to High and Dry. And High and Dry has a very, very important personal meaning for me. And if you watch that reaction, you'll find out why. So that's a very special song for me. But this one, I like the tone, and I like the energy that it's giving. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a little slight hint of a chill, especially in terms of the piano. It's really doing wonders for the tone of the song. So that's what I think so far. Let's keep going.
There was nothing to fear, nothing to die.
Interesting. Ooh. Very almost Egyptian sounding. Oh, pyramid song makes sense.
Jumped into the river. Black-eyed angels swam with me. The moon flushed like
Percussion feels very atypical.
all the figures I used to sing.
I love how it's imitating that kind of Egyptian sound. There's a particular instrument that makes that sound. It's not a sitar. I really like sitar as well. But that... Maybe it is a sitar. I don't know. If you can offer any information or clarity on that, and please do so in the comments below. But there's a certain type of sound that, feels very Egyptian that I just really like. And I think they captured that quite well so far. And it felt like a natural fit. It didn't feel jarring at all. It was a surprise a little bit, but it works. And I also have to say, once again, I briefly mentioned the atypical percussion. I think that the rhythm feels very different than what I'm used to. Maybe it's like more of an Eastern-oriented rhythm that they're using, that they're going for in the song. But either way, I like it. I like that when it came in, I feel like the little chill that I already had increased, meaning that it's playing a very good role in the music. So all good things are happening in this song so far. Let's continue. This is a whole mood right here.
There was nothing to fear, nothing to
Oh, I'm loving this build-up right here. It's like a rush of emotion. I like the panning there at the end. Okay, this was very unexpected. This was not at all what I predicted. I didn't even really make a prediction, but it's not what I would have expected to hear from a Radiohead song. And, I think one of the problems with this band, not with the band themselves, but the problem with people's exposure to this band, or lack thereof, is that I think they take like 2 or 3 songs and they overplay them. They play them to death on the radio. One song really is all I really knew about before actually exploring them further. The song was Creep. Obviously, they play that over and over on the radio. Everyone, regardless of whether or not you do live under a rock, I feel, has heard that song many times. I feel like they just take, a couple songs and put them on the radio, and that gives people a false impression of what Radiohead is. And really, I think the fact that I'm diving into their music now on this channel, I think it's showing me that there's a lot more substance to them. There's a lot more variation to their music than I ever assumed beforehand. So I think that there's a a lack of appreciation probably for the wealth of material they actually have music-wise, because people don't actually sit down and listen to like the songs that don't get played all the time, the songs that you don't hear about, that maybe are not so popular in the mainstream or whatever. Because I've never even heard of Pyramid Song. Like, I've heard the song title Paranoid Android, even before I reacted to it. But this song I had never heard of until the request was made in the comments. So I'm really glad that I got to be exposed to this one, because this really changes my perspective and changes my opinion on what Radiohead is and what they're capable of. Because this song, once again, was just, it felt so out of left field to me in the best possible way. And also, I want to offer some clarity that when I was talking about sitar during the music itself, I obviously, I know that there was no sitar in this. What I'm saying is, there's a certain way of evoking a very Egyptian kind of sound, and with the instruments that these guys were using, they managed to recreate that sound and capture that feeling. So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know which element of this song was the most prominent and the most powerful. I think that everything played its role in just as effectual of a way. I think that everything was very balanced. Every instrument had something strong and compelling and riveting to contribute to the song itself. I really liked the piano, the vocals, and the drumming in equal parts. I think it was all just on point. And the vocals, I think, once again, I'll always pretty much like the vocals when it comes to Radiohead, because I just do like Thom Yorke's style. I like the kind of subtlety to his voice. There's a certain smoothness there. I like the way that he can carry a note. And so I think that'll be kind of a constant, no matter what Radiohead song that I react to. But on this one, I really like the piano. It gave it such a somber feeling, and it did that so well. The feeling was palpable, and that's what ultimately gave me a chill early on when I started listening. And again, the rhythm felt different than what I'm used to. I am no expert when it comes to drumming, but if anyone can go a little bit deeper into what went into the drumming on this particular track, again, please do. Leave your comments down below, fill in the blanks, give me any background info that you want. I always very much appreciate it, and I do try and comment or reply to comments as often as I can. I do see everything that you guys post beneath my videos, and I try and really pay attention to what you have to say, especially if it's about a band that I'm just really discovering for the first time, and Radiohead is definitely that kind of band. Like, my journey is just beginning. This is not going to be my last reaction to them, so, of course, leave your request as well. But I really like this musically. I think this is my favorite Radiohead song so far, just based on the actual sound of the music alone. And again, when it comes to nostalgia and emotion, I'm going to say that High and Dry is still, like, that special song for me. And again, if you want to find out why, go watch my reaction to it. But objectively speaking, I think that this is the best out of the Radiohead songs that I've heard so far. So I'm really glad that I checked this one out. And of course, we are not done yet. Now let's get into the lyrics, of which there's not too much, but we'll read it off. We'll try and interpret what it's about. I jumped in the river, and what did I see? Black-eyed angels swam with me, a moon full of stars and astral cars, all the things I used to see. All my lovers were there with me, all my past and futures, and we all went to heaven in a little rowboat. There was nothing to fear and nothing to doubt. And that's it, really. That verse just repeats. Okay. So again, there's not too much here, writing-wise, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not substantial. I feel like what it talks about is very abstract, and that if you have a keen eye, you can sort of suss out a bit more detail. Like the fact that this is called Pyramid Song. So I wonder if this is about the afterlife, as the ancient Egyptians saw it. Right? Like, it makes me think of that scene of the underworld in Moon Knight, where you had all those boats. And it also mentions black-eyed angels, so that sounds more traditionally biblical. Not necessarily the black eyes, I mean just the angels. So I don't know if this is about someone actually dying or having some kind of a spiritual experience, like going on a spirit walk or astral projecting. Or maybe it's deliberately open to interpretation, because it talks about a moon full of stars and astral cars. So that sounds almost trippy rather than someone dying or being in like an actual afterlife. Even the opening line, I jumped in the river and what did I see? Maybe that's a metaphor for like doing DMT, or maybe something even as simple as meditating or having an out-of-body experience. I've heard the term river used before in a metaphorical kind of way, but I'm not sure exactly what it's interpreted to usually mean. I've heard of a river being associated with feelings of purification and rebirth, but again, this sounds more like some kind of astral experience that this person is having. And on one hand, it does seem like it's indicating a feeling of wholeness and peace, because it says, there was nothing to fear and nothing to doubt. But again, that could still be more of a hallucinatory or even spiritual experience. Yeah, this one makes you think. At least it makes me think. I remember a friend of mine was telling me years ago about one of their family members taking some kind of psychoactive drug. Forgot exactly what it was. And I think she didn't fully realize how strong it was, or it was her first time experiencing it. Something along those lines. And she described feeling a sense of wholeness and peace. And that she had found all the answers to everything about life in the universe. And she wanted a pen so she could write it down. Which is hilarious because it reminds me of the Tool song, Rosetta Stone. Literally, it makes me think of one of the lines in the song. But I forgot my pen. Typical. But anyway, within seconds, she said that she had forgotten what she knew, or what she thought she knew, or whatever she experienced. But she talked about it almost as if she had gone to another world, right? Like, she felt that she had left the Earth. Now, obviously, she didn't. She was physically there the whole time. There were eyewitnesses. But I've always found it interesting how things like tripping or hallucinating intersect with spirituality. Of course, the skeptics would say that it's proof that there is nothing spiritual, that it's all akin to delusion or experiences that are induced by substances or altered states of mind. But here's the thing, that's tricky territory. Because our states of mind are altered constantly. I mean, a cup of coffee alters your state of mind. This beer right here alters your state of mind. And not only are our minds changed by the substances that we normally consume, but also by natural chemicals and emotional responses in everyday life. So I feel like if someone were to make a statement that when our minds perceive things that feel spiritual or feel unearthly, that it's all nonsense, when you make a statement like that, I feel like you have to then outline the parameters by which you can actually trust what your mind perceives. Like, what is the overarching sign that what you perceive is true? Is it physical evidence? Is it, other people witnessing what you perceive? I mean, what are the parameters? Because if you can't trust those moments of perception, then how can you trust anything that you see or experience? So there's a contradiction there. And so when I look at this song and find myself wondering whether it's some substance-related experience or a spiritual one, I have to actually remind myself that those two things aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. And look, just to offer some clarity and background, I'm someone who's had spiritual experiences and encounters throughout my life. Quite a bit, some of them vivid. So when he talks about black-eyed angels that swam with him, I sort of get a chill even when I think about that, because I'm absolutely of the opinion that people can be surrounded by spirits or otherworldly intelligences, and that people can have spirit guides. I think the universe is much more bizarre and interesting than most people are capable of believing or are willing to believe. So, when I reacted to Paranoid Android, I think that was back in June or July of last year, more than one person told me in the comments that Radiohead took some influence from Pink Floyd. And I have to say that it makes perfect sense. Like, that's readily apparent, especially in the lyrics, if not in the music as well. And I really like Pink Floyd. They're one of those bands that I have to be in the right mood and mindset to really appreciate. But I feel like Radiohead could become a band like that for me too. Of course, I have to hear a lot more by them before I know for sure. But it gets me thinking, and I like that. As short as these lyrics are, the kind of headspace that they take me to, I think, is really interesting and really promising. Because I'm really, really interested in things like perception and dimensional awareness, and thinking about what exists beyond the periphery of what we can experience within a normal situation. And by normal, I mean no psychotropics, no spiritual practices happening in the moment. And it's just crazy to think about how compartmentalized and how situational our understandings are of everything from reality to life and death, to the nature of existence itself. Like, it's fascinating to me. Like, the conclusions, I'll put it this way, it all comes down to the conclusions that we draw based on two primary things. One being our first-hand perception, and the second being the cumulative information that's been presented to us through the scientific and experiential understandings. But it's like even that is so limited by the material reality that we have to work with. It's like, how can you understand something that exists beyond the boundaries of your regular perception when you don't have all of the material or all of the knowledge or all of the experiential requirement that exists beyond that precipice, that you can't reach, that you can't get to, that you can't access? So you're working on something with which you only have partial information or partial perception. It's a crazy thing, man. I could probably go on for hours talking about it because I'm so interested in it. And that's one of the reasons that I love researching these kinds of things. I love reading up on these kinds of things. These strange experiences that people have that they swear is real, that they feel in their bones and in their soul was real, because I've had experiences like that, and it's undeniable. And I have so much to say that I'm kind of stumbling over my words here, but also I have to say, the more that we learn about quantum physics, the more it seems to overlap with spirituality. So that's kind of what this made me think about, and it's interesting how by saying less, not more, this song kind of lets you fill in the blanks for yourself. So it's totally possible that this was intentionally made to be open to interpretation. And all art really is, at the end of the day. But this one could have been deliberately so. So I'd like to know more about the background behind the songwriting. Like, not just the music itself, not just the instrumentation, but like what the thought process was behind the song. Was there a particular message that the band had in mind when they wrote this? I'm sure there is. But if anyone has some details and knows a little bit more, again, go into the comments section. Make your voice heard. But either way, I want to listen to more about these guys. This song really cemented the fact for me that I don't know anything, that I don't know half of what I thought I knew when it comes to Radiohead. And that's an exciting feeling, because that means there's so much left to still discover. Like when I heard High and Dry, when I heard Paranoid Android, I was left more or less with the impression that, like, okay, I understand what these guys are about musically. I understand kind of like what to expect, more or less, like not exactly, but like the general style that they have. And now this, to me, felt completely different. So that was a nice curveball that was thrown at me. So I really appreciate the people who requested this, because this is like how do I put it? This is like the wrench that was thrown in that kind of changes things up for me and makes me kind of question what I thought I knew before, and makes me more intrigued to react to more Radiohead, and sooner rather than later. So you can definitely expect that in the days and weeks and months to come. Again, leave your request in the comments, or the best option that I highly recommend, go to my Patreon, linked in my description. Hop on tier 4. That lets you make a song request and push it to the head of the line, and you guarantee the request happens right away. It gets a reaction very soon, right after you ask for it. You don't have to wait for it to be put on a list where it could take months to happen. So if you want to fast track your request, that's the way to do it. But either way, I'm going to hear more. So I don't want to sleep on this band anymore. Really good stuff, man. I like this musically. It should go without saying, I think, that I liked it lyrically. And that surprises even me, because there's a lot of brevity here, when it comes to the writing. And sometimes I like that, but more often I find that a lack of long-form writing usually represents a lack of ideas on the part of the band or artist. But for this one, that's not the case. I'll just say it that way. So yeah, really cool. It gave me a lot to think about, gave me a lot to talk about. And I could go on, but then this reaction would end up being an hour. So I'm going to wrap it up here. But to everyone who is new here, please subscribe. Give this video a like once again. And to everyone who stuck around and waited for me to come back, things are new and improved around here. So I appreciate your patience and your loyalty and your support. That's it for this one. Until next time, much love and respect to the nuclear family, and I will catch you all very soon.